All right. Looks like we are
is.
live. We might have Stuart in there. And I stood Stuart up. Did not mean to. I was tired. Literally, I really should have booked closer. In my mind, I thought I was closer than I was to SHOT Show.
Where did you stay?
I stayed at the Luxor.
Oh.
It's basically on the other end of
Yeah.
the strip.
Yep.
Now, in my mind, I thought I could grab. There's a little tram that goes from Mandalay Bay to Luxor to the Excalibur. And in my brain, I thought, well, I'll just jump on the tram from Luxor to Excalibur, run across the street through the casino to New York, through MGM Grand, onto the tram or the monorail, and run that all the way to SHOT Show. That was, I'm like, how long can that take? 20 minutes? Well, no. Unfortunately, that tram from Luxor to, Excalibur doesn't open until 10 a.m. I had to be there by 8:30. So I had to hoof it from Luxor to Excalibur, where there's little stairs, and then you run through the edge of the casino in New York, then through MGM, and then wind your way through MGM to the monorail. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's at Caesars Venetian, the convention center.
Yep.
Caesars and Caesars Convention Center are not in the same place. Yeah. So I got off on the wrong stop, thinking I knew what I was doing. And I could not find any signage. I couldn't find anybody or any, it's Las Vegas. You're supposed to get lost. But I got into Caesar's Palace, and I'm like, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. So I called Dusty. I'm like, hey, I told you I wasn't gonna lick any windows. Yeah, I'm lost. Where's this at? So he explained where it was, and so I made it about 8:45, almost 9:00 the first day. But after that, I was on time. But it did take me from SHOT Show to get back to Luxor by monorail and walking and climbing stairs and more stairs and all of that good stuff. It would take me normally about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to get back to my hotel. And then in the morning about the same. So it was a bit of a trek.
Damn. Yeah, you're not kidding. Holy shit.
Yeah. So I was a bit tired at the end of each day. Lots of walking, and then of course standing after that. But it was a lot of fun. So that was my experience. And Stuart, again, I didn't mean to stand you up. I was legitimately like tired, and then I would have people ask me to come out and drink and whatnot, and I don't drink. So the one time I went out was Thursday night. I went out with the Grit Grips crew. We did some mini golf over in Mandalay Bay.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
So and
you had a good time. What kind of who'd you meet, and who do you want to shout out?
Oh, shout out. Okay, I definitely want to shout out Grit Grips, Dusty, and his wife Natalia. Amazing. Why Dusty would even associate with me, I don't know. The guy is so smart, it's not even funny. The type of things that he went through to create the grip module that he has, I mean, just it's worth every penny that he sells them for and more. So it's definitely like right up there. Again, like I said, with Nomad, when it comes, if you want the best grip module, it's Nomad and Grit Grip. So that's, as for other people, C&B quality coatings, Cerakote dudes, he had, like, I saw him from a distance, and I definitely noticed him by his massive beard. I'm like, I know that beard. He was over in the Shallow Tech booth, which was right next door, and I'm like, I know him. So we got catching up. Andy and Sean from Nomad Defense showed up. We talked about, my first time any of my stuff was at SHOT Show was in Nomad's booth, and they're one of my suppliers. So it was good to meet them. Obviously, the gun I could shout out people for. I mean, I met so many cool people. Cody from Superior Precision, Steven from Osight. That guy's pretty cool, and he was showing me the upgrades that they've made from previous generation to now. Mike, we had him on the channel from
Gideon.
From Gideon. Yep, I met Mike. We
Nice.
had a brief conversation, then he had to take off and get some other stuff done. Just lots of people. It's almost still a blur. Obviously Lenny McGill, old walking stick ninja.
Lenny.
I met him the first day I was there. He came by
Legend.
the legendary Lenny McGill. He came by, and Josh was there from JM Customs was standing there, and Lenny was looking to talk to Dusty, but Dusty was off in a meeting doing some business and whatnot. And so I had to make sure Lenny didn't know who I was, which was fine at the time. And I made sure I gave him a sticker. He got a good laugh out of it before he got out of there. And he came back later in the show, him and his wife, to talk to Dusty. And so we got to talking, and Dusty put him my way, talked about triggers, and we were talking about pin designs, trigger weights of like the material, just a bunch of different things. And that was actually really cool. His people that do his marketing and like social media, younger guys, they were there, and they actually heard of Tactical Pontoon, and
worldwide.
Which was, Tactical Pontoon worldwide.
TPW.
Yeah, and then, well, speaking of something with a W, we had just that day the announcement of the Atom Trigger series coming into the Tactical Pontoon lineup, had just launched. So that series of trigger is already on Glock store under its previous name, but it will switch over once the stock is out to the Atom. So his social media guys already knew about it, and they were like, oh, we kind of talked about that and whatnot. So that's another reason why they knew who I was. So they got some videos, and those were tagged on Instagram with Dusty's grit grips and my trigger in it. So that was kind of cool.
Nice. Yeah, I was watching the social media stuff all week. It was awesome.
I didn't get a chance to ask him about if he still had any copies of the Walking Stick Defense or Walking Stick Fighting DVD, but I really should have asked him about that. It was fun to talk to him. I probably would still give him crap.
Do you watch Tulsa King?
No, I've heard really good things about it.
Okay.
I've heard really good things about it.
It's a great show. If you get a chance, check it out. My wife and I think we have maybe 1 or 2 episodes left in the second season.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just dropped the second season here recently.
Yeah. So Lenny reminds me there is a guy in the town in Tulsa that has a car dealership, and he reminds me of Lenny McGill so much.
Guy's a salesman, without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's so funny. And like the second season, there's like, a little bit more to his story. And when it all kind of happened, I was like, oh my God, this made it so much better.
I can't wait.
So good.
I'm gonna have to watch it then, because I mean I've given Lenny a lot of crap over the years.
Yeah.
His products kind of deserve it. Let's not, I've seen a lot of really sketchy shit from the Double Diamond name. So it is what it is. Standard code trigger shoot. No, but he did mention kind of mention in passing that they're releasing a new trigger shoe, and he's got to go to some meetings about it. So I left it alone. I did. Oh, speaking of trigger shoes, while I was at Zafiri's booth talking to Cody, The owner and one of the engineers from Tyrant Designs went walking by and started talking to Cody, and I overheard that one of the engineers. So I had to talk up. I had to speak up. I was like, okay, so if you're an engineer, are you the guy behind your guys' Glock trigger? And the owner's like, no, that's me. I was like, okay, we need to talk real quick.
Listen, just fucking stop.
Well, I was like, guys, or I can't remember his name. Be honest with you, so many names. But I was like, hey, just from a guy who works on triggers, this is my, I don't have to help you. I don't have to I don't have to pass you this information, but just think about it. Why did you put such a heavy trigger spring in that safety tab? Because it's not needed. And then the other thing is, how and why did you put it in the marketing as something that, benefits a shooter? I've actually had people come to me and ask for it to be, fixed, and I replace it with a lighter spring. So you might go ahead, remove that part of your marketing, and just go with like a 20%, 10 or 20% lighter spring. That's just, me trying to help you. I don't have to help you. And he's like, well, we're about to do a Gen 2. It's going to have a wider safety tab, so that should help keep from hurting people's fingers. I was like, okay, well, just know this is free. I just thought I would ask. And he's like, no, man, I can take criticism.
Yeah.
I don't know if he listened, but I hope so for anybody who's bought those trigger shoes. Because they literally went with a way too heavy safety tab, which then they put it in the marketing, which is really weird. They actually act like it's something that helps you shoot fast. I don't know, but I thought it was fun. It was fun to ask him, so I did put him on the spot. He kind of blew it off, but hey,
well, they would be remiss if they didn't listen to you, because I mean, I'm not a big fan of any of their stuff, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But hey, they're like Lenny, you just throw a bunch of shit at the wall.
Yeah.
And some of it sticks, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I gave him some, because I could just be a dick. I was trying to help, because it is something that I've had people ask about, and I've actually replaced some of the springs for people just to help people out. But hey, hopefully it helped. Give them something to think about. I'm nobody in comparison. That industry, oh my God. When you look at the size of SHOT Show, you really, as long as you don't mention the safety looks like it's hanging too low. I'm not even going to mention that. It's kind of a copy of an Apex, to be completely honest there, Stuart. And I think they know that. But the size of the industry,
which is a dated design itself.
Yeah. Well, even Apex has updated their design a little bit, with a wider safety tab. So
right.
come on, hello. But the size of the industry, when you look at the amount, like I could probably walk 2 or 3 days of SHOT Show and not see, let's say I stopped a moment at each booth, it would probably take at least 2 to 3 days to get through everything, unless you're just power walking. So the size of the industry is just massive. So little old Tactical Pontoon, nobody. It's still kind of neat that there's some people that do know me.
I'll say this, because I know there isn't going to be anybody else that says it, because there's only 3 of us here, but you're not nobody. And so Tactical Pontoon Worldwide,
boats and hose,
TPW, not to be confused with the other way around.
Yeah, definitely not to be confused with them. I won't say too much more on that, but in mentioning the Atom real quick, which I'll do more content on once things come about and I have more of them on hand. There's another sticker that should be here really soon. You've seen the design. I've put it on Instagram and whatnot. So the sticker is on the way. That's always exciting.
Yes.
And oh, I met Joe, one of the customers that the guy that made sure that I had patches, the first run of patches, the Jedi ones.
Yeah.
I met him. He was at
Nice.
SHOT Show, and his son, who shoots a bunch of my, they both shoot a bunch of my triggers, and it was good. I mean, just to be able to meet some of your customers that you've dealt with. One guy came up and was talking, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I know it's been a little bit, but I've got 13 of your trigger systems."
Oh man.
I'm like, "What? Wait, what's your name again?" And he said it, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you do. It's been a while."
The baker's dozen.
Yeah. I'm like, "Oh yeah, you sure do." And then we got talking cars and whatnot. So that happens. They give him a sticker with the Viper on it, and we got to talking about cars and whatnot. So a lot of talking, lots of talking.
Yeah.
Definitely was wore out socially after each day. There's no doubt about it. And then doing the the sales pitch for grit grips, and really just kind of telling people if my experience with the grip, which is has all been good. And so no, it was a heck of a time. Things that I saw out at SHOT Show. new items. I didn't make it across and around a lot of different booths, but the thing that, like, Amen 2, no, not Amen 2, I'm sorry, it's Shield has their new chassis for the 43 system, so you can use it with like their magazines and whatnot. So they did their own frame. Didn't get a chance to look at it too close, but that should be interesting. I did Ruger. Okay, Ruger dropped their RXM. Okay. And hearing from one of the people at Ruger, not at their booth, but in another area, it doesn't really seem like they're too interested in selling just the chassis by itself. Which it's almost like they dropped a product and they really don't know what to do with it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to support this in its full capacity.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're really just kind of letting the aftermarket do somewhat of what they want. They seem to have sold out the first run pretty well, and they've got another stream coming. But they don't really have like a lot planned for it aside from just providing it for everybody else to do whatever they want. Which is kind of crazy, because here you dropped a chassis system, which Catherine Glock was out and about, but that was the next floor up. I didn't spend a lot of time out there, and I didn't even realize that. I thought that was his daughter, but it's his wife.
They're the same age.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was like, wait a minute, okay, that's his wife. At least I literally just found that out like within the last day or so, and I'm like, oh, okay, duh. I didn't know that, but I have heard from a couple different people while I was at SHOT Show that she is more interested in opportunities than Gaston was when it comes to, like, for example, you've heard about all the polymer changes. She's gonna make more money about it. Gaston kept it at a certain level. Like, he was happy with where things were at. He would do incremental changes, and that was it. Like, he had his vision. Okay. It was his vision. Well, more than likely what we're going to see is, you'll probably see maybe a Glock rifle eventually, or they'll do something outside of the box, because maybe we'll get a 2011. Speaking of 2011s, have you seen the 2011 from Staccato that uses a Glock style magazine?
I did.
Let me tell you the most exciting part about that. I don't care about the 2011. I think it's neat. Who makes their magazine? Not
I don't
Glock.
know.
Mechgar.
Oh, nice. So it's a metal
Mechgar.
Glock.
It's a metal Glock magazine. What I'm more excited about is not a Glock 17 magazine, but a Glock 43X magazine with higher capacity, like the shield arms, like the micro dagger. If Mechgar, now that they're kind of in that market, I would love to see them do a shield, a 15 round magazine, because shield's been hit, they've done multiple different variations. They seem to be where they need to be for the most part. PSA's magazines are still, I think they're going through a couple different revisions. So, but to see Mechgar do that, I would, to break into that market, and they may not, but it's just kind of exciting for me. And the 2011's cool and all, but to see a metal Glock magazine made by Mechgar, I'm like, oh, that's what we needed. We needed finally the big boys to step in. So
yes, yeah, yep,
yeah.
Mechgar mags. Canic mags are made by Mechgar,
Correct.
Which are pretty nice.
I think isn't Beretta's as well.
Yes, they are made by.
Sig.
So are Taurus, I believe, and Sig.
Yeah. The Mechgar is massive when it comes to magazines. They are like, you maybe not the gold standard, but they're like the worldwide, like they make magazines for everybody. I think even CZ is Mechgar.
It might be.
I think it is.
HK?
I don't know. My HK magazines are all like the P30 is metal. Yeah, P30, P2000. They're all metal. So I don't know. I'll have to look at
mags. I'm pretty sure my VP9 mags are Mechgar.
Yeah, they're P30, VP9 or run the same magazines. I was thinking the USP. The USP is polymer.
Yeah.
Mechgar for my alleged SIG. Okay. Hey, you know what? Speaking of SIG, it seems like, one, I haven't seen a new SIG 320 model in 2 years?
Ooh. Was there a new SIG model 2 years ago?
Well, I'm talking 320.
Right. But I mean, was there a new 320?
Well, they do like, Macro X ported this.
Those are 365s.
Well, I know now it's kind of all kind of gone to the 365. The 320, I really think, and I allegedly, I mean, I have no, it just seems like more and more there's a lot of more, the bad press is again coming after that 320.
Oh yeah.
And I think there might be an issue with that thing. I've pretty much halted any type of development for the 320. The 320, pretty much SIG has pushed everything in the civilian world over to the 365. That's why you got I think it's the macro, which is like a double stack. It's the larger one. I think it's the macro. So this is just me throwing things out there. I don't even know why I brought it up, but I think we're talking magazine. Oh, and Baum there with his alleged SIG. Allegedly. So, yeah, I don't know. 365. It's SIG. I didn't stop by their booth. I didn't have any business there. I didn't stop by a lot of booths. We did stop by the PSA booth. And I took a picture of Dusty. He was looking at I think it was a micro. I think it was the new micro 380. 380 is trying to make a comeback. And he was taking a picure of it. He had it in his one hand. He was taking a picture of it. So I got a picture of him, and I was like, R&D for Grit Grips.
Yeah, hilarious.
He's like, "You get a picture of me?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh shit." And later, after he had a couple drinks, he's like, "Yeah, post it. Let's see what happens." Oh man,
so
but yeah, the 380. The PSA is launching a 380 micro, so like a 42X.
Yeah.
380 is trying to make a comeback. I don't know. You know what? If it does, whatever. If somebody wants it,
I want to see like a 22 Magnum. That's what I want to see.
That would be cool to see 22 mag. I mean, you got 5.7. That seems to be like the
rough equivalent.
Yeah, I like my 22 TCM, the 9R.
Yes.
That one's a cool little round, but it's another one that's a little bit hard to find. But 22 mag would be really cool. That would be. I've shot a couple 22 mags and they're pretty neat. It'd be neat for it to become more widespread available. So
a belt fed 380.
Wasn't there a Thompson that was like 380 or something? I feel like, or a Mac 10. Maybe I'm thinking a Mac 10 or Mac 11, something like that. That's probably what I'm thinking about.
What the hell kind of belt fed 380 is there?
I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna,
it might say it's allegedly anyway.
Hey, that's true. I mean, shit, belt fed anything would be fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'd belt fed 22. Let's go for it.
I really like that Fight Light SCR. Is that the one that's got the top, the belt fed? It's an upper made for ARs.
Okay.
Fight Light makes it, and I want to say it's called the SCR.
Okay.
And it's a top, so it's got the top block that you open up, drop the belt in, pop it down.
The only thing that would be cooler is if at the end of the belt it went ping.
Ooh. Well, you know what you do get with the belt fed though is you get the links dropping into the box, so you get the shake the whole time.
Yeah,
that it's like rumbling around in the box.
That would be you can't hardly beat that.
Yeah, I've always wanted the 1918 Browning 1918 a bar.
Yeah.
That's like my
That's your gun.
Oh, that would be so awesome.
I'm trying to think if I have like the gun. Part of me wants to say like the Mark 23 SOCOM would be like, fully kitted out would be like the gun.
It's a good one.
But it's probably taller than me for a handgun.
Mark 23 is awesome though.
It really is. I almost picked one up one time and I didn't do it. I semi kicked myself, but at the same time, it's like, do you really? Yes, obviously you need one, but I got my USP. It's like the Mark 23 Lite, so I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm trying to think what was.
You still need that Mark 23 because the Mark 23 matches the Viper now.
That's true.
Around that same time frame.
That's true. I mean, go ahead.
I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Can't 2000s would have been Gen 2 Glock, right? Or no, beginning of Gen 3.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. If you're gonna go at it, you might as well have a Mark 23.
Yes.
Out the side. New to the space, excuse my ignorance. Would you consider the GPT safe to carry, which shows a partially cocked stock Glock trigger, still has enough force to ignite the primer? Well, you have to remember that the there is a safety block plunger, which is that little safety plunger which blocks the striker. So even if your striker goes forward, it's supposed to, when everything is working right, block that striker from going forward. But the GPT, the safety aspect of it really comes down to if you install that correctly and you use the factory Glock trigger shoe that comes with it, you've got the margins are really good, but you do have to make sure that you have enough cruciform, well, in that case, sear to striker lug interface. It can vary. There's not really any way to adjust that on the GPT or the cheaper variant called the Timney. So it's going to be a gun by gun situation. So if you install a GPT, just go in there with an armorer's plate or have your Glock armor or your gunsmith go in there and make sure that you have enough striker to sear interface. But Glock did. They've got it. They knew their system pretty well. But if you go start adding aftermarket components, you can throw things off. But just in a factory Glock, you should be good. The real concern with the GPT when it comes to everyday carry is following the lubrication schedule and the special lubrication points, because the GPT, unlike a factory Glock, utilizes a lot more metal on metal components, and you need to make sure that you lubricate it more often and in the correct spots. So really the concern is making sure that you're not running it dry. So with each GPT, and I may have one here, thought I saw one earlier. I might have been over in the other part of the shop, but there's a special lubrication guide. Follow that, break that thing in, and just make sure that it's installed with enough sear and striker lug, and you should be good to go. But honestly, I don't recommend it for everyday carry. Not because of the weight, not because of safety, but just because of that extra lubrication. You got to make sure that you make sure it's lubricated, which can sometimes be forgotten in an EDC. So I would personally, for EDC, I stick with the Glock style components.
Peacemaker
daily. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have some of my higher end stuff that I use for carry, because any of the triggers that I build, aside from the ones with the GPT, I have no problem carrying. A lot of it, because safeties are all there. It's just the weight, more than anything else. Something a little bit lighter or whatnot. But GPT, I don't carry EDC.
At the end of the day, if it's not lubricated properly, you're just going to end up, having an issue.
Yeah.
That goes for everything.
Pretty much everything. The Glock system is pretty forgiving, but the GPT is a little bit less so.
I wasn't talking about just guns.
Oh, okay.
That's okay.
Okay. So you stay lubricated?
Always.
Okay, good.
You ain't gotta get lubricated if you stay lubricated.
That'll work. Very true. In Louisiana, you're always lubricated. I could tell you that. You are. It does not get very dry.
Speaking of that, it snowed down there.
Okay. The day before I left, well, basically the week leading up to when I left, they were like, "Oh my God, we're going to get a record-breaking storm." And I'm thinking, man, I shouldn't go to SHOT Show, because we could lose power. We could, there could be issues, and not to mention I'm way behind as it is. But I was like, I'm gonna go for it. We're gonna get on the plane, or we as in me. My fiance did stay behind, and I'm regretting that. Very much so. I'm sorry. She'll be coming next year. But so the day after I left, the weather was getting bad, and then Monday when I left for SHOT Show, there was, the possibility of snow coming in, and snow in southern Louisiana is very rare. The last time we saw any snow, and we're talking like an inch, 2 inches, was 2017 or 2018. We did see some ice in 2021, right after surviving 2 hurricanes, and it was the year that like Texas power grid went down and all that stuff. So I fly out Monday morning. Tuesday morning, it started getting cold and getting cold and getting cold. Then they got a dusting of snow Tuesday night. Wednesday, I think they got like 4 to 5 inches of snow in a state that does not have plow or salt trucks. So like you basically are shut down. It's done.
Yeah.
And so I was watching the weather as I was out in Vegas and talking to my fiance, hoping they didn't lose power, and this sort of thing. but fortunately it thawed enough that I could fly back in Friday. So I missed out on all the snow, which I am perfectly fine on. I grew up in the snow in Missouri. I'm perfectly fine missing the snow. But it was record breaking. I think I think the last time that it snowed that much was like 1896.
Oh geez.
Yeah. Yeah, like 120 years ago. Trigger Tech Glock trigger. I'm trying to think, is that the one? There was no, I don't have any like direct feedback on Trigger Tech. I know if it's Trigger Tech or one of them, you have to actually mill the slide, a special slot and pocket for. I'll take a look and see if it's the Trigger Tech I'm thinking about. Maybe I can pull that up real quick.
I'm trying to pull it up right now. And
Trigger
I don't know.
Tech Glock.
They just came out. I don't even know if they're out yet. They just debuted. Oh no, that was 2024.
Yeah, it was 2024. One, I don't think I've ever seen anybody use it. I was talking to I was actually talking to the guy at, well, not the guy, but one of my friends at Superior Precision. I believe it was Trigger Tech. Now that you mentioned looking at their logo, you actually have to mill the slide. There's a special way that you have to do it in order for that trigger to work in a Glock. He said he actually felt one. He said it felt really good, but all of the additional work that you have to do to make something like that work just puts it out of the range of the normal person. They, I guess they had hit up Zafiri about like doing a line of special slides for them. They kind of just want to sell the trigger to people and have them do it. If anything, they really just need to like say launch a dagger variant or a grit grips and build like their own gun and sell it as a full system, because you're looking at changing a lot of things. And it's probably best that the consumer themselves not be the one that have to handle putting something like that package together. They could sell a slide with it, but at the same time, I know a guy who builds pretty good triggers that don't need special stuff like that.
Looking at the website, they don't even sell it on the website.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the one. It's like a pack. If they need to build their own gun or partner with somebody and come out with a Glock clone or a Glock based gun that utilizes their components, and I'm sure it's probably great, but it's also really expensive. And my stuff's really expensive, don't get me wrong, but when you start modifying slides, it goes to the point of like the Franklin Arms binary trigger, which is like $800, I think, for the slide kit and their trigger. So might as well buy a whole Justin, just buy a whole new platform at that point, because let's be honest, there are some really nice triggers out there in other platforms. Canik makes an amazing trigger right out of the box. And I gotta say, Brandon, it appears to me that Smith & Wesson is becoming Canik, and Canik is kind of becoming Smith & Wesson in design. Because if you look at that new Smith & Wesson Performance Model J metal frame, whatever you want to call it, it literally looks like an older Canik, not a Mete, but what was before that? Or what's one of their race guns? Canik's
the TP90 SFX.
There you go. It looked to me like a Canik, and then Canik released the MC9. Is it the Mete?
Yeah, Mete.
Okay, that thing looks really good. Like they squared it off, and like it kind of looks like a Glock. It looks better than the CC9 from HK. So, I mean,
yeah,
which you can't really get a hold of. So, everybody's still trying to get a hold of one of those. I still want to get a hold of one. It looks like a Taurus. But I think there's going to be a market for it if they can ever bring it to market. if they're
Sure.
kind of pushing the limits. Like there was a big hype for it, and like the first ones, all of them sold out, and I'm still hearing you cannot get a hold of one.
Oh, Justin. Okay. Hold on. Competition. 100% reliable competition Glock. I'm going to say James is going to recommend probably what, Leonidas?
Either that or a Heisenberg competition.
Or the Heisenberg comp, yeah.
Yeah, probably the Leonidas is, reliable. A lot of times when it comes to reliability, the components themselves are great, and you might have 25 different manufacturers build you great components, but like a race car, if it's not all assembled right and tuned, I mean, you're going to run into issues. And so my thing would be, I would recommend either the Heisenberg competition or the Heisenberg Elite, which is based around the GPT, which we were talking about earlier, which I love as a competition trigger. So like those are the two options that I would probably push you towards, unless you absolutely want no pre-travel. Either, and then I may have something else a little fancy coming out soon. I'm working on getting all of the components in here for what I'm going to call the Viper competition.
Oh, the GTS?
Yeah, we might throw a GTS in there.
Nice. I want a fucking stripe. I want a racing stripe.
Well, that's why you got the trigger safety tab. You calm down, okay? I can only do so much.
Get it.
I've got some components, and it's my goal with this is to get to the weight of something like a GPT or a Timney, but without utilizing those fancy, fancy as in like shoehorned in components of the separate sear system. My goal is to use factory style components for reliability, what I consider overall reliability versus the chassis system or the sear system. So it'll include like a striker, a lightweight striker, special striker spring, some special tuning, and my goal is to hit around 2.5 pounds in most platforms. So timeline, probably the middle of February is where we're looking.
Shit,
maybe sooner. Yeah, it's not very far away. I was hoping to have it launched by the middle of January, but with all of the delays in shipping, it blew it out of the water. So we're like right there. I've tested it. It's good to go. I just have to have the components here to make it available.
Yeah,
so,
Justin wants one.
He wants one.
That's the only way he'll be smiley.
Oh man, it's beautiful. And I love the Heisenberg competition. It'll use the same trigger shoe. I'm trying to, the very last thing that I want to do is figure out where exactly I want the travel at. I'm not going to go full on Leonidas. What I'm trying to do is bring it in at a package point, because there's more components than the Leonidas or the Heisenberg competition. And so that obviously brings up the cost. So what I'm trying to do is bring the performance and cost in a place that actually comes in below the Leonidas. So what that does is I have to change around like my actual time and how much of the travel I'm going to take up out of it. So it's a deal. And I may eventually add several different variations, one that's up there in price above the Leonidas. And then, like I said, I'm trying to get down below the Leonidas price line. So
right. So you're going to have like an RT10, and then you're going to have a GTS.
Yeah. And then maybe a GTSR.
Yes.
So that's kind of my goal. Getting these things together, and then also thinking about, trying to give you guys the right performance for the price, and without going overboard is always a struggle. So I've been working a lot, and I've worked with some different suppliers to try to bring some of this stuff down. So that's the plan. That would be the one I would go with. But at the same time, if you need something sooner, the either the Heisenberg Elite or the Heisenberg competition will probably be the way I would send you. So that's the long answer, because I don't do short answers. I'm bad about short answers. I babble a lot. What else? We were talking about Canix. We were talking about HK losing their mind with not dropping enough CC9s. What else did I see? I guess PSA's showing off a 50 caliber rifle. I've seen some really good memes about that. About the guy bringing.
Imagine.
Oh my goodness, the guy bringing his 50 caliber. He's the guy you don't want to talk to. I don't know. We'll see. PSA's got some interesting stuff. They always do. Some of it they launch, some of it that they don't. So ACR model, there we go. That'd be the top. That would be a good competition model, the ACR. Vipers, Hennessy. You know what? You cannot bring up the name Hennessy around Viper owners in forums that have been around since, the early 2000s, because he really did a number with the Viper groups. Like he's got Henna screwed. He has a very bad reputation.
I don't know.
He does in the Viper world. I think he was spending a little too much money at the time, and he was robbing parts. From what I've heard, he's robbed parts. His dynos read really high. Some people never got, their stuff would just sit for years at a time. That. So now in my, like in my little kid eyes, Hennessy, when I think of the Hennessy 650, sorry, Hennessy 1000, like in my mind, I still think of Hennessy as like a big name, but not if they've been around for a while. So, they're right down the road. I mean, like it's about 3 hours away from me to get to Hennessy. I've been to their track. They still build a lot of cool shit. He's done enough to stay around, but you do not mention his name in the Viper forums. They are,
all right.
Yeah. I wish I still had it, but when I was a kid, I called Hennessy up and they sent me out a video cassette. It was like a Motor Week. They did Motor Week back in the old school days. Yep. And so they were talking about Hennessy. So for me, Hennessy, and then there was like a pamphlet. It was really cool back then. So that was me. Yeah, the front ends were kind of goofy. You can still buy those, actually. Those were built by Autoform. You can still get those. Same with the spoilers. All that stuff was produced by a company called Autoform and rebranded under Hennessy. So what else did out at SHOT Show? There was.
Did you eat anywhere good?
Most of the time I just ate at the end of the day at the little food court because I was tired by the time I got home from my hotel, because it was just me. If Tony had been with me and we'd have gone out to eat and that sort of thing. So I just kind of kept it easy because I didn't want to get in more trouble than I was for leaving her. Yeah. Like I would take pictures on my route, but I wouldn't like go out and like explore. One, I was tired, and two, I didn't want to rub it in that I left her into a snowstorm.
Yeah.
And then she got sick, and I'm pretty sure I got sick at SHOT Show. I don't think it was her because I was already feeling scratchiness.
So you guys are making some sort of super virus now?
Pretty much. Yeah. Nice. I'll package it.
Nice.
Package and send it out. You can call me Wuhan Labs.
Just gonna call you Anthony from now on.
There you go. Man, speaking of what a world we live in. What a world.
Wait, we have Trump. We have Trump in the presidency,
Oh my goodness. The stuff that's getting signed into presidential orders is there's a lot of stuff.
It is.
There's a lot of stuff. They let out the Silk Road guy. He promised he would let him out to the libertarians. Yeah, he did it, which I'm, hey, the dude he's already served like 10 or 15 years of multiple life sentences for something that's really not that bad. But all the January 6th people, I mean, it's pretty insane. He's done more in like 3 days than the other in all of 4 years in a good way. So I mean, I'm not saying it's all perfect, but it's interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I don't think he'll catch up on him is the pardons.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I guess he didn't pardon himself. I saw something where Trump was like, maybe you should have pardoned yourself. So, oh man, I don't know.
What I found out, what was interesting is I found out that if you have a presidential pardon, you can no longer plead the fifth. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
You can't plead the fifth.
Huh.
So I don't necessarily know how like they could use that, in some of these situations, but I found out that if you have a presidential pardon and you become and you're subpoenaed to testify in any case, you no longer have the right to the Fifth Amendment.
I wonder if they could use that for going after other people.
Yeah,
around them.
I would think so.
Wow, I did not. That's a neat little tidbit that you're like, hey, do I have an option on this?
Yeah, I mean, I got to be completely honest. I looked at it for about 5 minutes trying to find a confirmation of that, and I ended up on the government website and stuff like that. But I didn't get any solid answer there. But
that'd be a good one to bring up to a lawyer and be like, they got the good YouTube lawyers. Maybe they can make a video on it or something. Because I didn't realize that. That's kind of a big deal, especially if you're running the world where you need to plead the fifth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you operate in a Fifth Amendment capacity.
Yeah, it was, boy, I tell you, because I flew out the 20th when he got into office. And I was watching different streams as I was going, and then you'd miss things while you were on the plane. I didn't pay for extra Wi-Fi on the plane, but just to see him, enact all the things that he, most of the time you hear presidents talk about different things, and then they just like kind of let it go to the wayside. And I don't know. So far, it's been pretty interesting to see, and people are freaking out. I have friends that are more leaning to one side than the other, and they are losing their minds. It's like, well, you gotta calm down here. You really need to calm down. It's not that bad. Yeah. It's actually gonna get better. Stop listening to all the all the things that the media was telling you.
Yeah,
really need to calm down.
Bullshit.
Yeah, you really need to calm down. But I don't go after them because they are my friends, and I respect them for who they're, their beliefs and that sort of thing. But I'm like, now things have changed a little bit. Same people that were freaked out about TikTok leaving and being upset about it. And it's like, yeah, well, Trump saved TikTok,
yeah, there was a lot. Now there's a lot of people who are saying they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're going to shit like Blue Sky, and which I've heard
Red Note.
Oh, Red Note. Yeah, that other thing.
Hear about
Red
that whole debacle? That was hilarious when that was popping up.
Oh man. Yeah, Red Note. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, things come and go. I'm just like, we'll see how things go. I would love to see I'd love to see the country go in the right direction. We'll see how things go in the next 4 years and after. It's always a shit show when it's run by people, which there are a lot of us out there.
Yep.
We all think we're right most of the time, but hey, I don't know. I'm just here to build triggers at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yep.
Usually tell that to women. You need to calm down. Yeah, that works really well. That works really well. Normally ends the conversation.
You're gonna end up true to your username there, my friend.
Yeah, embalmed. Damn, that's good. That's good. Oh,
Don't
Brandon,
suggest that.
Brandon, what's been up? How are things going?
Busy,
Yes.
but we're almost there on the comps. Comps, I think, what did I say? 80, 81
Yep.
or so left to do. But down in the home stretch, and then optic plates right behind that.
Awesome.
Should be caught up here soon. And you know, it's been great, man. Reception that everybody's been giving us since they've been receiving them has been amazing. You know, everybody's saying that it's worth the wait. And so for me, that's all that matters.
That's what matters. It may have taken a little bit of time to get there, but it's worth it. And you know what they say: buy once, cry once, as well as you wait for something. It's like they can turn out 1,700 Toyota Camrys in a day, but it takes like a month to do a Rolls Royce. So it takes a little bit of time. Takes a little bit of time.
And that's the thing, you know. I would rather build, you know, Lambos and Ferraris and artwork instead of just mass producing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and you have one, like you have one, you've seen it. Our stuff is
not a Lambo, by the way. A car.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You have one, you know, that it is a functional piece of creative art.
Yes. You brought both function and art together in that. Beautiful.
Yeah. And so you know, it's been, the experience has been crazy. I mean, obviously, from cutting our own shims when we couldn't find anybody to do it for us, to, you know, the process in which we had to kind of streamline the manufacturing, to all of the obstacles and ups and downs and everything in between. It's been really amazing, to be completely honest.
I don't think you used amazing. There were a couple times you did not use amazing when I talked to you, but at the end of the road, you learned something.
Without a doubt. And I mean, that's what I keep, you know, I've been in communications with a lot of customers, both who have received their orders and people who have not yet received their orders. And, you know, I'm a big believer, as I'm sure that you are too, that, you know, there isn't, you know, when you're a huge company, you know, and you make a mistake, typically they're not going to make an adjustment, or they're going to change the way that they do things. So they're going to pivot in a way that positively impacts their customer experience. But we get the opportunity to do that, and it's not as difficult as it is for people who are bigger. But you know, all I've ever asked is that people understand that if I make a mistake, I'll tell you. If there's something that I don't live up to an expectation, or I don't come through, or whatever, that everybody understands that I learned, and that will immediately impact how we do business from here on out. Immediately.
It's going to make improvements to your processes and your product as time goes on. So it's a good thing.
For sure.
You know, the old saying of he who makes the most mistakes gets the farthest in life, you know.
Yeah.
What? Pretty much. I think it's said a little bit different, but you know, you got to make mistakes in order to get anywhere. I mean, I've made mine many, and I will continue to do so, and learn from those and keep on going. There have been plenty of times that would have been easier just to walk away from it. I mean, there have been times. There have been times.
Yeah, we've helped each other there, I think, in a lot of ways.
Oh my goodness, I've called you multiple times and told you, hey, I'm gonna scream for a minute about different things. Give me just a moment.
Yeah. I mean, so I recently, and it's something that really helped me with this whole process was I read a study, actually a Harvard study that they did, and it was like a social experiment where they cut the class in half, and they said, all right, here's your only assignment throughout this entire semester. And the assignment is half of you are going to make you're going to try to make the best pot, like a clay pot, right? For flowers.
Yeah.
Half of you are your goal is going to be to make the greatest pot that you can, the highest quality pot you can make, right? Yeah. And the other half of the class, your goal is to make the most clay pots as possible.
Yeah.
Quantity. So quality versus quantity.
This is really good. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right. I know where we're getting.
So what they did was they ran this study for the whole semester, and they found out that the half of the class that had to make the most amount of pots, right?
Yeah.
Their pot was not only better, but it was miles better.
Yeah.
Than the other half of the class who was trying to make the best pot.
This goes back to what I tell people when they tell me they want to start a business. You know, they want to plan and create the best business that they possibly can and have all of their ducks in a row before they launch.
Yeah.
And then you got little old me who just fell into it and just screwed up multiple times and just keeps on going. And like, I mean, even a guy I worked with who still works at the company that I no longer work for. He built a business plan. He got started, but he planned too long and planned himself out of business. And here I am, multiple years later, I still have a business that's growing. And you got to get out there and just make mistakes. And that's what they like I said, they made so many pots, and they learned from each and every one how to get better and better and better as time goes on. And instead of those other ones that were, well, maybe we should just mold this pot this way. And they tried, one or two ways, and they thought they had the best one, and they weren't. So no, that's awesome. It's the truth. I live by that one.
There was, I think it was John Maxwell. There was a point in time where I read a bunch of like self-help books and stuff like that, right? And so John Maxwell is kind of like one of the big gurus in that space.
Yep.
And his statement, which is what kind of opened the door for this for that whole side of things for me, was you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
I completely agree.
And that's the thing. There are a whole lot of people who wish to take action, but there are very few who actually do.
Yeah.
And that is the difference for me.
It's absolutely the truth. At the end of the day, even though I gave the guy at Tyrant a bad, I kind of poked him, dude's got a big company. So even though he's failing upwards, and that's something to learn as well. Maybe that'll help push him to the next level where he can get even better. But obviously, he went out and did something.
It's it's so important that you take what people the feedback that people give you and you make productive change out of it. There's so many people who give you bullshit, and they'll give you just venting or bitching or complaining, right? But there are very few people who will say, hey, like I had a guy reach out to me the other day who received one of our Gen 3 comps, and I find out he's a machinist.
Yeah.
And he messages me and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that I understand that this is really thankless work, and that you are, you're putting in time every single day for people who may or may not reach out to you, even if they're totally satisfied.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to let you know, and I wanted to take the time to email you to let you know that I appreciate everything that you're doing. And, it was just like, man, I can get hundreds of shit emails or messages or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of those makes all of them go away.
It's almost more valuable than the sale itself. It's just,
without a doubt.
yeah. I mean, it
Without a
really
doubt.
is. I mean, at the end of the day, finally having somebody just reach out who didn't have to, because, you know, you do hear more from people that have issues or questions than you ever do from people that are completely satisfied.
Yep.
The old adage of no news is good news kind of applies, but it's nice when you do get that, you know, reach out. And I think before we end it, I want to, not me, but somebody else that maybe, whether it's somebody on YouTube, because that, unlike my channel, they actually spend quality time editing and putting a video together, or it's a company that's built you something, or a person in your life, just reach out and say thank you. Thank you for being who you are. You've done this for me, or I just appreciate what you've done. And yeah, just get out, just one person, doesn't have to be much, it doesn't have to be money or anything like that. Just let somebody know. So that's kind of how we'll end it off. I know my throat's getting kind of scratchy, but it was good to kind of come back and do a recap. And we're looking at changing up the schedule a little bit. Might be more of like a every other week type deal, just because of how busy we both are. But we are looking at coming back at a more regular schedule. That's the plan anyways. So with that,
I'm in.
All right. We'll catch you guys later.
All right. See you.
In stream. There we go.